There's a push to be positive at all times, but that cuts our human experience in half. We feel all our emotions, but we're in a culture that doesn't want to see them, so we shut down the hard, the messy, the uncomfortable, and the dark. Studies show that pushing down our undesirable feelings hurts our mental health, as well as adds stress to our bodies, raises our risk of substance abuse, and harmful coping mechanisms. In the last 2 years, we have seen a meteoric rise in the number of people struggling with mental health stressors, with depression rates tripling and people with anxiety rising 400%. There are many contributing factors, of course, and one of them can be traced to our increase in social media consumption while in various forms of lockdown and quarantine. A study by the Kantar Group found that after April 2020, our web browsing increased by 70% and our social media engagement increased 61%. Among the funny videos in the news stories, we shared millions of quotes and inspirational videos about finding the silver lining. And we know these things get shared widely because they give us a sense of control when things feel out of control. And they provide a sliver of hope in dark times. After all, finding the positive side of things is a good thing, a life skill we teach even the youngest among us. Good vibes only became a top trending phrase during our hard times, but it unintentionally pushed people into emotional distress because they thought feeling bad was, well, bad. Creating and sharing quotes like this seems harmless on the surface, but they're in fact part of a trend that crosses the line from helpful encouragement to something psychologists are calling toxic positivity. Toxic positivity does not mean being positive is toxic. It means that we reject anything that takes us into those negative or undesirable feelings because being positive is the only acceptable state of being. If you have ever shared something with someone else, say losing a loved one, losing a job, or losing your home, and they say, just be thankful for what you do have, or you need to move on, you've been on the receiving end of toxic positivity. It dismisses or invalidates your pain, your trauma, or your grief, and you feel shame when you just can't shake it off. So you hide your true emotions to avoid embarrassment or being seen as weak. On our quest to feel good, toxic positivity hurts us. So if that's true, what does work to bring us to a happier state of being? Nature has given us a clear and easy path to navigate our emotions and weather every storm, and it shows us how natural it is to experience all the seasons without shame, judgment, or feelings of failure. Like a tree doesn't feel disgrace for dropping its leaves in the fall, or embarrassment for how long it takes to drop them. Just like there are no bad seasons, there are no bad emotions. Of course we prefer happiness, excitement, and awe over feelings like sadness, rage, or disgust. But every emotion has a function. Every emotion is an opportunity to strengthen our self-awareness, our emotional regulation, and build resilience. And this desire for emotional mastery isn't new. Carved into the ancient Greek temple of Apollo at Delphi thousands of years ago is the maxim, know thyself. When we discover who we are in each season, we take our emotional mastery to the next level. So let's see what the seasons can teach us by starting in winter. In nature, winter is bleak and bitter. Severe temperatures, chilling winds, and snow swirls around. It's the absence of light and warmth. The same is true in our emotional winters as well. These are the cold, dark, harsh times when we shut down, pull back, and disconnect. Here, we don't have snow swirling around. Instead, it's anger, fear, frustration, or resentment. We might be in winter for a few moments when someone cuts us off on the highway, or we might be in winter for a lot longer, like the weeks we spend jealous of our friend's success, the months we stay in conflict with our love partner, or the deep grudge that we have held for years. Even though winter is a really hard season, we don't want to remove it because the bitter winds blow away the dead leaves and reveal what's underneath. It lets our true feelings be revealed. If we're angry, winter tells us we have an unmet need. If we're jealous, it signals something we might want for ourselves. Winter serves a purpose, but it's just a season. We don't need to stay there. When we're ready to leave the darkness of winter and move towards hope and possibility, we find ourselves in spring. And this season has two parts. First, spring cleaning. We remove the debris and repair the ruptures that happened in the winter storm we just experienced. Maybe by apologizing or forgiving, or rebuilding trust, setting new boundaries. Secondly, we add nutrients to our soil and plant the seeds of what we want more of, healthy habits or things we love. Spring is a time of recovery and rebirth, and we do all of this work and invest in spring cleaning to get to summer, which is the very best it can be. This season is filled with joy and connection, laughter and love. It is our happy place. In nature, summer is when the sun is shining and the seeds we planted in spring are starting to bloom, and there's beauty everywhere. When we're in emotional summer, we feel strong, confident, and in full connection to our own brilliance, as well as in deep, meaningful connection to the people in our lives, as well as our passions and purpose. If you think about the 5 best memories from your whole life, those are summer memories. I want you to take one of those memories for a moment and relive that experience full out. Put yourself back in that moment. Think about how wonderful it was to soar on the clouds of joy, and then ask yourself, are you checking for weeds or looking for pests in your garden? No. Fall is a subtle season that slides into our world slowly, and it might show up as a sharp response, a sarcastic answer, a passive-aggressive dig, or a new irritation. However it shows up for you, it's a warning sign that winter is coming back if you don't course correct. When we're in this season, we have to look at what old reactive habits or patterns are showing up for us again, or what doubts or fears are creeping in, just like bugs in a garden. We've covered the 4 seasons that we know, and I want to introduce a 5th season that helps us navigate every storm in our life and supports us for even deeper emotional learning and development, knowing our triggers better and understanding our choices. This 5th season is called the Crossroads. It's where we find our truest power, not over other people, but over ourselves. It's where we pause, breathe, acknowledge our emotions, evaluate our options, and choose the next decision with intention and purpose. In this season, we realize we have choices, not just in actions, but in emotions as well. The crossroads is the key to our mental wellness and deepening our emotional intelligence, because we get to ask, how do I want to feel at the end of this? How do I want the outcome to be? Recognizing the power of our crossroads moments allows us to stop reacting instinctively from our survival brain, our coping mechanisms, from our fear responses, or our need to dominate, and recognize we have a choice. Every thought, feeling, response, reaction, and interaction is an opportunity to stand at the crossroads and choose our outcome. And research from the UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center tells us that our emotions are a choice. So summer is a choice and winter is a choice. Say something happens, like your boss criticizes you, your child has a temper tantrum at the store, or your love partner opens up an old relationship wound. You will have an emotional reaction, and that emotional response will drive your next decisions. If you become upset and choose to act on your anger, fear, vengeance, jealousy, dominance, or denial, you are choosing the path to winter. But if you feel upset and you go down the path of forgiveness, grace, compassion, understanding, and connection, you are choosing the path to summer. The 5th season reminds us we have that choice. Once I understood the power of the crossroads to be the place I stand before I make every decision, my emotional state transformed. For most of my life, I had no idea that I had control over my reactions or the outcome of my interactions. But then something changed. In March 2006, I was 5 months pregnant, exhausted from a cross-country move, and on my own with 2 toddlers while my husband was on a business trip for his new job. At 7:30 at night, we cuddled up into bed and we quickly fell asleep. At 2 a.m., I woke up to use the bathroom, as pregnant women often do, and when I stood up, I crashed to the floor and I was unable to move for 5 hours. Inside my frozen body, I cried, I begged, I pleaded, I panicked, and surrendered. At 7 a.m., a heat wave washed over me and I was dizzy, but I could move. So I gathered my children and we went to the hospital on a quest to figure out what happened. Over the next 8 grueling months, I was tested for everything. And after that, I met with my neurological team and they said, we don't know what it is, but we know it's going to kill you in 5 years. I was a frustrated, tired, irritated mom, barely keeping my head above water, trying to do the cooking and cleaning and homeworking, all with the understanding that I was going to die any day. Every time I messed up, I scolded myself. Is this the kind of mother you want your kids to remember you by? The answer was always no, but I was powerless to do anything different. So I would hop on social media and I'd look at everyone else's highlight reels, which reinforced my feelings of worthlessness and failure. How could it be that everyone else knew how to do everything? What was wrong with me? I embraced toxic positivity completely. I pretended everything was amazing and I collected all of my winter emotions. I bundled them up and I wrapped them with ribbons of shame and humiliation and I buried them deep. I was living a small part of my wholeness and it was making me more sick. And on the kitchen floor in my house, I begged for a way to understand my full human experience. Thankfully, I didn't die after 5 years. In fact, I'm still battling my condition, but I'm living more of my life than I ever did before. Creating the 5 Seasons framework allowed me to get the most out of my life by helping me discover who I was in every season. Who was I when I was my best self, standing in my strength and my personal power? Who did I become when winter came in, knocking me down, kicking me around, and taking me to my edge? I kept asking myself, how is this season helping me know myself better? What can it reveal about my unhealed hurts, my past traumas, my missing boundaries, my true joys, or my biggest dreams? I didn't think I would live long enough to walk with my kids through the storms they would face in their lives. So creating this easy to remember, simple to use mental model was a dream come true. They learned how to recognize winter when it was blowing in for them and who they became when the storms hit. They listed all the ways they could spring clean their way back to summer when they would feel capable and strong again. They stood at the crossroads 10, 20 times a day and looked down the path to summer and winter and chose with intention. This simple analogy of using the seasons to represent the full spectrum of their emotions gave them a powerful tool for self-awareness and emotional mastery. So let me ask you, how is the season that you're in helping you know yourself better? Maybe you're in spring, planting the seeds of what you want to grow. Maybe you're at the crossroads deciding between a path to winter and the path to summer. Maybe you're in winter, managing a really hard health crisis, a financial catastrophe, or a rupture in your relationship. What you're feeling right now is real and valid and true. The 5 seasons can't stop the emotional storms from coming. We're still going to feel stress and sickness, divorce and death, failure and fear. But mastering our seasons means we can face every storm with courage and conviction that all of our emotions are part of the natural experience. Before I knew about my seasons, I sat in my storms for a long time. But now when the bitter winds blow into my life, I walk to the crossroads and I face every challenge, big or small, knowing I have everything in me to choose summer. And I wish the same for you. Thank you.